Welcome to this forum for Port of Tacoma Position 1. I'm Liz Kernitz-Thurlow of the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County, and I will be moderating. There are 3 port positions up for election this year, positions 1, 2, and 4. They are 4-year terms. For position 1, the candidates are John McCarthy and Laura Gilbert. As there are only 2 candidates, this will not appear on your primary election ballot. Both candidates will automatically move to the general election on November 2nd. But the League and TV Tacoma present them to you to give you lots of time to meet, listen to, and get to know the candidates. Candidates were sent ground rules, which include a rule not to comment on their opponents. Do you agree to these rules?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Laura Gilbert is not in attendance, so we're only presenting John McCarthy. And thank you so much for being here with us. And I hope that before the general election, we have a chance to talk with you both. Our timekeeper is Susan Eidenschink. She will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining, 30 seconds, 15, and when it's time to stop. But as there's only one of you, the rules will be somewhat relaxed. Susan will keep track of time, assuming up to 90 seconds for an answer. But if you feel you have something really important to add, you may push it a little. So you have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and your opening statement, please, Mr. McCarthy.
Well, thank you for having me here today. I am a candidate for position 1 at the Port of Tacoma Commission. I have been serving in this position now for almost 4 years. We've had challenges with regard to the pandemic, but we've worked very hard to keep traffic moving, jobs intact, the supply chain working, and making sure everyone is able to retain their positions. It has been a challenging time, but things are going well. I previously, before becoming a port commissioner, was a Superior Court judge. I retired from Superior Court, retired as a judge after 22 years. Before that, I was a port commissioner for almost a decade. And before that, I served as a casual longshore worker, working my way through high school, college, and law school. The port right now is in a strategic planning process because we must be future orientated and focused. And we are focusing on 2 principal elements, and that is expanding our jobs, employment opportunities, and also doing everything to preserve and protect and be great stewards for our environment. And we've worked very hard on that, created a clean air program, a clean truck program. We've mitigated a lot of land for fisheries purposes. At the same time, we've served the function of attracting shipping lines. We work in conjunction with the Northwest Seaport Alliance, the Port of Seattle, and that alliance to expand our marine cargo base. I've been appointed by the governor to be the port representative from the state on the Strategic Freight Mobility Strategic Investment Board. I've also been asked by my fellow commissioner to serve on the Tide Flats SubArea planning process. I serve on the board of the Washington Council for International Trade, and I've been involved statewide on transportation and other port issues. I would very much appreciate your support in this election cycle.
Thank you. And now we come to questions. And everything you just said led me to a whole lot of new questions, which I might throw in. How could and should the port demonstrate its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, both within itself and in the community through hiring and other practices?
I think that entire issues come to light and become important to our entire society as a result of what happened this last year, particularly after the murder of George Floyd. I was the president of the Port of Tacoma Commission last year, and I was the chair of the Northwest Seaport Alliance. And while that social upheaval was undergoing, I took it. I and my fellow commissioners made a point of adopting a resolution to set in action what we could do to accomplish those goals. Our staff is working hard on that now. More to come, but we have already made some changes and shifted our direction such that we can indeed be more equitable and be a benefit to everyone in Pierce County.
Thank you. Can you spend 30 seconds just telling us what kind of changes you made?
Uh, well, most of it was, we were in the middle of our strategic planning process when that happened, in which we reached out to the community. Even in a virtual world, we had a tremendous response. Refocused, quite frankly, our strategic planning process to formulate questions and ideas within the plan that we got community impact put on that would address issues of equity and diversity in the workplace. We, for example, we just gave a grant to an incubator project that is going to focus on minority and diverse communities that heretofore haven't previously been involved in trade and economic development from the marine perspective. So that's one small project that we started. We look at doing more of that nature.
What do you think is the most critical part of the Port's new strategic plan?
The most critical part is we have focused on what the Port of Tacoma can be separate and apart from the Alliance. About 80% of all the money that we develop and the economic development that we create over 40,000 jobs in the maritime industry. So about 80% of what we do is in the marine industry. We focused on the other 20%, those things that we can do to expand business opportunities, industrial development in the tide flats just for Tacoma, and the type of projects that's separate and apart from the Alliance that we can do to create jobs and foster better transportation networks, better freight mobility expert nexes, and other opportunities of that nature.
Thank you. Many people do not understand that the port and the tide flats are not the same thing. How will you or do you explain this to constituents so they understand what the port actually does and can do and cannot do?
We have, how do we do it? We have expanded our educational opportunities within the community, and we speak on a regular basis to citizen groups. But as I mentioned, I serve on the tide flats SubArea planning process, and as I've explained to many people that have looked at that process, we own the Port of Tacoma as a governmental entity, owns about 2,500 acres in the tide flats, and it's only about the half of the acreage that's owned down there. So we are looked to as leaders in the tide flats, but there's a lot of industry and a lot of other leadership that is better able to state their position as to what they think they need to do to environmentally and safely develop and expand their business opportunities to create jobs. So it's a constant education issue. The port is countywide. We've spent a lot of time on that. We need to spend a lot more. And this last year, I participated in the very first Coffee with a Commissioner. And I had 55 people attend virtually, and we had a great conversation. We had people that knew exactly what we did. We had people that didn't know, and it was a wonderful opportunity and conversation. We need to do more of that, and we are doing more of that. And our staff is very engaged. Community engagement is one of the key pillars that we've identified. Community engagement, we've identified as that one of the key elements of the future for the Port of Tacoma, to totally engage our community in what we do, what we can do, and what we should be doing to accomplish what our community wants the Port of Tacoma to be.
Thank you. So what types of clean energy projects will you encourage? And please speak about the potential uses of wind and or battery power for vessels.
Well, it's interesting you should ask that because we've had conversations with the managing members, the commissioners of the Port of Seattle, over some potential wind-related projects on property, and have taken some early looks at that. We're engaged in shore power, for example. One of the things that we've done is developed shore power so that when ships come in, instead of having to operate off their fossil fuel, they can plug into the shore. We have that now at Tote in Tacoma. We're soon going to have it both at Terminal 5 in Seattle as well as at Husky Terminal in Tacoma. So that's kind of an energy saving project. We're also looking at heavy duty equipment and what further utilization of electricity, battery operated, that we can do to improve our air quality.
Thank you. Are current safety plans adequate to protect the lives of employees and nearby residents in the event of a crisis? And what, if any, improvements should be made?
Well, that was when I started back on the commission almost 4 years ago, that was a key item for me to focus on and identify. And I took a very close look at the safety plan. And we accomplished one of the main goals that we wanted to achieve, and that was the fire station has been open now. We didn't have a fire station for many, many years, and we now have a fire station that's open close to 11th Street, and we did that in conjunction with the city of Tacoma, the Tacoma Fire Department. Further safety things that I want to accomplish, I want to get the 11th Street Bridge open again, the one that goes over the Puyallup River that's been closed, so that we can expand safety opportunities to be able to lead the tide flood. So it's key to me to get that bridge open again. We'll also be able to improve our freight mobility and movement of freight if we open that, get that bridge open. It has been closed for many, many years now, and that's on the top of my list, and one I'm having some serious discussions with fellow members of the board and the staff. I really want us to open that traffic to alleviate in the event of an emergency. The more opportunities there are to leave the tide flat various directions would be important. So that's something that I look forward to in the next 4 years working hard on.
You think there's any chance of it happening?
Yes, I do. I think it's an expensive project. It's a city bridge. It's an expensive project. But, sometimes when there's a will, there's a way. And if we have and develop a really good plan, then there are opportunities to get some funding assistance. And as I mentioned, I serve on the Freight Mobility Strategic Investment Board for the state. So I've had the opportunity to see road projects that other communities have been able to develop throughout the state, because I participate in the granting of awards to those projects. So I'm going to work hard on that, and it's going to be a long-term effort. Don't have a solution now, but I think this year we're going to have increased conversation about that. And that would just be over the Puyallup River, not over the Blair waterway, but this would be over the Puyallup River to the Central Peninsula.
Okay. How will you increase cooperation among the port, the city, and the Puyallup tribe, and what improvements do you think this would create?
Well, when I first returned to the port 3.5 years ago, in my first tenure on the Port Commission, I was the Port Commission representative to the Puyallup Land Claim Settlement. So I sat side by side and testified along with leaders of the Puyallup tribe to get congressional approval for the agreement that we worked on for 5 years. And I really felt that I personally had developed a great relationship with the tribe. When I returned 4 years ago, I was disappointed to see it had deteriorated. The commissioners asked me to be a liaison with the tribe. And I will say in the last 3 years, we have had more consultations than people are aware of. We are discussing some economic development opportunities. We're involved in some wetland mitigation projects on Wapato Creek. So the consultation and the cooperation has expanded substantially. I also feel we have a good relationship with the city of Tacoma. There have been obviously disagreements over projects that were decided upon years ago, for example, the LNG project, and there's still, I think, bad feelings with regard to that. But there is a lot more good in the development and efforts to work together than than one may realize. So I look forward to continue to work closely with the Puyallup tribe as well as the city of Tacoma.
Thank you. You mentioned that you're on the SubArea Plan committee
Yes.
for the Tide Flats. Can we have a minute or so about what's going on and what you think is going to happen and where we're going?
Well, we got primarily the city is in charge of moving forward with that, and we put on the steering committee 2 members from each of 5 different governments, including the city of Tacoma, the Puyallup tribe, the Port of Tacoma, Pierce County, and the city of Fife. Part of the problem was the interim regulations that have been approved to continue or every 6 months took a lot of time and energy, I think, for the city, so that I don't think the strategic planning process went as quickly as all of us would have hoped that it would. We told the city we're ready, willing, and able, we, the Port of Tacoma, to move forward at any point in time to engage our stakeholders, to engage our community, and we are engaged in the process that they're engaged in. I think this recent process that they took to make permanent some of the interim regulations, I think that actually took away from the time that would have assisted us in moving forward a little quicker with the sub-area planning process. So we the port had a plan for the city to kind of keep both moving together in a more of an expedited fashion, but the city chose to utilize the option that they did. I am glad to see that they've sent to a committee of the city of Tacoma the recommendations of the Planning Commission, because quite frankly, they needed substantial improvement or there were going to be complications. So that's a good step. I am glad the city is taking that effort to get them right, and then when the city's ready to continue on with the sub-area planning process, we at the port are more than ready, willing, and able to move forward with those discussions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So if you want to take a minute to give us a closing statement and tell us anything you want us to know that we didn't just ask, please do so.
Well, the Port of Tacoma is really essential to the economic health and well-being of all of Pierce County, and it has been for over 125 years. The public port was created 102 years ago. It's 100 years ago, I actually had a grandfather that worked in the Tide Flats in a shipping yard. My father then worked in a shipping yard in the Tide Flats and worked as a longshore worker for 40 years. And then, as I mentioned, I started as a casual longshore worker to be able to go and receive an education to apply some of what we knew. I'm passionate about the port being what this community needs it to be, and that is an economic opportunity for everyone. It needs that, and it needs to do that in an environmentally safe and friendly fashion, fully cognizant, and clean up bad decisions that were made many years ago, and expand opportunities for tribal fisheries and other environmentally very important projects. We've developed wetlands, we've cleaned up lands. The number of lands, we've cleaned up over 1,000 acres of land in recent decades. So I think the future looks good. I mean, the future looks good. As a community, we need to continue our dialogue and keep moving forward so that the port can be all that we want it and all it should be for all citizens of Pierce County.
Thank you. John McCarthy and Laura Gilbert, who was not here, are candidates for Port of Tacoma Position 1. This will appear on the November ballot. Thank you so much, Mr. McCarthy, for being here and answering our questions.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this forum on and for inviting me. Thank you, Mary, very much.
Thank you. Viewers, there are many other races which are on the primary ballot. Your primary ballot must be postmarked or in a drop box by 8 p.m. on August 3rd. Thank you to John McCarthy for being here and for talking with us, and to you for watching. Now, please don't forget to vote.